Rade, welcome back.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Gary. I really appreciate it.
No problem, no problem. Back by popular demand. So, a topic that obviously I don't know anything about, phases of goalkeeper development. What does it all mean?
Yeah, so we'll try to look at a little bit kind of throughout I don't know how much audience know, but as I'm a goalkeeper coach with Chicago Red Stars, but as well, I'm a director of goalkeeping in the youth club as well. And, I would just kind of try to give a little bit insight how we do it with our club and how we take it from the youth, really, really young age all the way to 18s and 19s, and how we prepare the kids for the next level. For in the US, it's a college level for us, because we're not strictly aligned. We don't have kind of the top of the pyramid, but we do have the next step for the kids, and that's a college level. So just kind of taking them through a little bit steps and how we do it.
Awesome. Let's go.
So guys, I just want to thank everybody for being here again. Like, my name is Rade, and as I said just a minute ago, my primary role is goalkeeper coach for Chicago Red Stars, as well as goalkeeper director for Eclipse Select, and working with their goalkeeper development program. So this is pretty much our staff. There's three of us on the staff that work with on a kind of we have almost like a 3-location system with the girls on the north side of Chicago, girls on the east side of Chicago, and then boys on the east and west side of Chicago. So we're kind of a little bit in a couple different locations. So pretty much our role within the club, club is really centered around the family, tradition, and excellence. Our role within the club is to serve players and coaches, develop, develop. We developed in the past, develop it right now, and hopefully develop some players for the future, and then to try to be consistent and try to develop a consistent environment on and off the field as well. So we're not just a player-centered, but we are person-centered as well. Some areas of continuity that we try to have throughout our development program, it's pretty much trying to have some injury prevention. So pre-training activation is huge for us. Pre-practice routine, PPR, I will talk through this throughout. I'll talk a little bit about this throughout the presentation, but this is something that we implemented within the club. PPR is something that we do every single day. Myself, I'm pretty controlling person, and I try to as much as I can get out of that way and try to let it be a little bit more player led. So this pre-practice routine help us with that, and just kind of to create some habits and install some things into the kids. Progression of the sessions, we work on a 2-week cycle, and we are trying to progress almost throughout the sessions in a week, and in that 2 weeks. So it's kind of revolving door almost, and it is a pretty 2-week consistent, but there is flexibility in it that we need. If we need to add a 3rd week, we do every now and then. Game day warm-up is pretty unified throughout the club. Video feedback, training, and games. We try to film as many trainings as possible and as many games as possible, and try to go like players do have. We have a platform that we share every training session with the goalkeepers, and then with the games, it's a little bit different. It's more like individually based, and it's based off of the players' IDPs, individual development programs and plans. So shared online platform between the goalkeeper coaches. So we use quick tactics for session planning, but we try to share as much as we can among ourselves, and try to have a collaboration as much as possible. We cross over goalkeeper coaches, so all 3 of us are working together, and then we will kind of go back and forth in between our teams, so we are never stuck in one way, and we're trying to get goalkeepers to see different coaching styles as well. Same as the goalkeepers, we believe that goalkeeper coaches have a different styles, and we don't try to change the style or anything like that, but just try to develop and get better. Same messaging throughout the club as much as possible, and then we believe that continuity helps transition between the teams and age groups. So if we cover something in age group and player kind of moves on in the next age group, we know what has been covered, and that as well helps this crossover of goalkeeper coaches. So how we see goalkeeping. So we see goalkeeper actions in the 4 phases of the game. Okay. And those actions are influenced by tactical decisions, by technical executions, by psychosocial state of mind, and by physical ability. So this is kind of how we see the goalkeeping in a club. This is how we see goalkeeping actions. So we have 4 phases of the game, and we have actions in those 4 phases of the game. So distribution is offensively. So whenever we talk about distribution, we talk about this model, and but this model is really tightly connected with the team model or the club curriculum as well. We do have a club curriculum, but as well, each team kind of plays a little bit different in that curriculum. So each goalkeeper has a little bit adjustment to make as far as their own team and their own environment. So whenever we talk about distribution, we talk about distribution with the feet and the hands. We talk about these 5 areas of passing that we're looking to play into. So just dependable what where we are on the field and what phase it is and how that develops. Then defensively, out of the possession, we talk about number 1 priorities to defend the goal, and then number 2 priorities to control the space. So like if we are out of the possession, we're trying to get a goalkeepers to take always positioning to defend the goal first. So if ball is, especially if ball is in and around the box, if ball is higher up the field, then we're talking about controlling the space. And if ball is on the flank, or we're looking for some through balls as well. And then in transition, our number 1 priority is to control the space. Number 2 priorities to defend the goal. So again, like taking positions so we can affect the play before we have to shot stop or defend the goal area. And then defending to attack in transition, always try to have a goalkeeper in a good supporting role. And then on the bottom down there, you can see the communication, and communication is present in all 4 phases of the game, but it's super important when it comes to defending. And in those transitional moments, one way or the other, we believe that goalkeepers have to be really good in their precise, clean communication. Okay. Here's how we kind of defend the space, support the area, defend the area, and then defend the goal if necessary. Okay. So moving on, program training design. So pretty much whenever we talk about training design, we talk about game analysis, and then we talk about tactical periodization. And this is something that I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about down on the stretch of this presentation. So whenever we talk about goalkeeper actions, we use a little bit of analysis. And again, this is not a process that's something like this. Sometimes I do even have parents do this for me in the younger ages. So pretty much the four things that we look at are distribution, shot stopping, through balls, and wide play. We try to collect a little bit of data, and we try to see how that changes throughout the age group and through age groups. And that's how we pretty much, whenever we are planning the sessions, whenever we are planning our periodizations, that's a number 1 priority. So that game analysis directly influences tactical periodization. Tactical periodization directly influences training sessions. Why? Because there are some distinguished differences in a goalkeeper actions throughout the age groups, and that's something that we use whenever it comes to phases of development for our goalkeepers in our club. So just an example for a little bit better view, I will use this. So in the U10s for our U10s and for our younger goalkeepers, when it comes to wide play, they see wide play in a very, very limited amount. So only 8% of their actions are related to the wide play. We don't call it crosses. We call it a wide play because it's not just a flighted ball in a box. Nowadays, there's balls in behind the back lines. They're played from the wide spaces. There are balls. They're driven across the box. It's not just a flighted ball. So that's why I refer to it as a wide play. So difference between the wide play in a U10 game and a U18 game, there's a really, really drastic difference. Obviously, the biggest action that goalkeepers do are they distribute the ball. So in all development phases, the distribution is kind of dominant. And then there is a little bit of analysis within these 4 actions. So whenever we talk about distribution, is it dead ball? Is it back pass? And we look at that as well a little bit. But for purpose of the presentation, I'll just kind of leave it as it is right now. So what else? What else is kind of standing out? Shot stopping, right? In the U10, goalkeepers see a lot of shot stopping. And think about if you think about the U10 game, we have a little Johnny gets up top who's pretty fast and usually some with some good skills. So if Johnny's good on the ball and on top of that he's fast, we see a lot of small breakaways. We see a lot of 1v1s. We see a lot of kind of those transitional moments happening and a lot of short range shot stopping situations, right? On the other side, in the U18 game, where we see a lot of wide play and we see a lot of balls coming through the wide areas, we see a lot of collecting crosses and collecting those balls from the wide areas, or B, we see a lot of adjustments off of that for a shot stop. And so those are kind of some things that we take in consideration whenever we are creating and designing the training programs and whenever we design a tactical periodization, especially whenever we design a training session. This is our kind of weekly, and I'll refer to this a couple times. This is our periodization, and I use this. So this is from this year, so from beginning of the March, just right before we stopped training. So just for example, usually on March 1st, we try to get out the indoor facilities here in Chicago. So we do train indoor, and our indoors are small and tight. So whenever we try to get out, whenever there is a little bit of sun, we try to get out. So usually March 1st is that date when we try to get out. So there is a cycle, spring, summer cycle that we call it here. So in that cycle, as you can see, the first week, I usually let the goalkeepers kind of just get integrated with the teams and get situated and get in that times goalkeeper coaches, field player coaches, they do a lot of games and a lot of kind of bigger spaces so the kids can get used to a little bit on the field and the conditions overall. So right away, you can see in that tactical periodization, we are working on the 2-week cycles. So for example, if you see the team, wherever it says team, so team for the week would be Mondays and Tuesdays are really, really set. And then Wednesdays and Thursdays, we kind of change it up a little bit based on a team and based off the needs of the team and based off of what they're doing on a weekend. But the theme of the goalkeeping sessions throughout the week will be the same, and then we'll build kind of into next week as well. So if you see like a team on a March 9th would be handling and shot stopping, and then on a March 10th again handling and shot stopping, and then we'll move it into angle play, and then down the next week we'll go into some kind of 1v1 situations and breakaways or through balls and work it that way around. And then there is, like as I said, there is a flexibility. If we need to add a third week, we would, but if not, we will kind of move to the next team and then do it again. So again, there is this, as I said earlier, 2-week cycle throughout throughout the tactical periodization. So that's something that's really important to us. So then whenever we design a training sessions, we let a goalkeepers overlap. So I would let U16 goalkeeper come and train with the U17 team. We would sometimes even let girls and boys train together, but again, just appropriate age groups. It does not make sense for U18 boys to train with the U14 girls and so on and so forth. It's just, it has to be appropriate. So we do get a little bit of mixing, and we get different numbers of goalkeepers in the different sessions, different days. So number of goalkeepers is important for us whenever we are designing a training session. Space, that's something that in the clubs is a big deal. And sometimes we have 3 teams or 4 teams on one field, so we gotta adjust based off of that. Or even in the indoor facility, it's a little bit smaller, so we have to be really creative how we design a session around those elements that affect it. Appropriate activities. So there is a tactical periodization, and then we have overarching theme around the tactical periodization, and then appropriate activity design choice. And whenever I talk about activity design, so there is a three kind of activity designs that we use. One is technical, so it's a small movement, short and sharp distances, isolation of technical work, repeated actions, decision making related to isolation of technical work, and there is some announcing services. So for example, this would be just a super simple isolated technical work. We do believe in it. We do it every so often. I mean, it just depends again from the age group, depends from the time of the year, depends from the where we are in our tactical periodization, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the younger age groups, like doing some basic diving. These are some older age groups doing some basic handling. So it just depends what is it on a day, and what is it that we need, right? So so just a simple movement, simple action here as well. Maybe it's a coupling of actions, so maybe it's one action followed by another action. Again, maybe it's just an individual development plan for a certain player, but it is so-called the technical activity design. So this is just one activity isolated in a training session. So then we have functional activities that we do. So these activities are technical and tactical in the nature, so to say. Majority of all of them are mostly done inside the goal frame. Realistic movements, realistic distances, and realistic speeds. Again, decision making comes to tactical positioning, but as well technical execution. So this would be just example of some functional work. So goal is behind, little movement, angle, good set for a little angle shot right up there, but then executing it technically well on the other side. That's something that we're looking for. And then as we build into that, like usually we start with the dead balls, and then we slowly progress it into more movement, and so on and so forth. Still, there's no open-ended decision making, but there is. If ball is a little bit left, a little bit right, goalkeepers still have to position themselves. Number one, they have to execute the action, and then understand what they're doing in between. So functional activities, and then we have complex activities, and these are like heavy tactical in nature. This is work inside the goal and inside the goal mouth if possible. So sometimes it's in the clubs. Whoever works in the clubs understands sometimes that's not possible, but if it is, it'll be great. As realistic movements, distances, as speed as is possible. Lots of movement that dictates the goalkeeper decision making. The challenges goalkeepers decision making. Lots of unannounced services, and we also count small-sided games, team games, and a game as complex activities. So something like this, right? Well, where goalkeeper have to decide where ball is moving majority of the time, and then goalkeepers have to make a decisions what is going on within with the ball, right? So again, for us, these are most common practices with older kids, and I'll talk through that in a second. So lots of decision making, lots of small adjustments, lots of ball rolling. Again, it can be starting even from the warm up. We can be starting a little bit more simpler, so to say, but still working towards that complex environment and keeping it as realistic to the game as possible, right? So again, if you look at in our tactical periodization and you look at in a type of training, right? So if you below the teams, there's a type of training. So whenever kids are integrated with the teams, right, starting from the March 2nd, right, they will be playing a lot of games. They will be in a lot of possessions. They will be in a lot of game related activities. So that we'll consider that a complex training, right? So, and then if you go down the next week, we might start a week with a little bit more technical work, then progress it in a little bit more functional work, and then work towards the complexity of the game, right? And again, I will explain this as we go. But with the younger age groups, we might do a little bit more technical work, but with the older age groups, we might do more complex work right off the bat. So appropriate activities, they affect training session design. We do care about physical periodization, but we can always, we are not like our top priority is not our top priority is injury prevention and making sure that kids are taken care of in that area. But when it comes to physical periodization, I'm not super worried about tapering and getting them ready right on the right time. In the U.S., for us, kids are usually training 2-3 times a week, 4 times a week, dependable on the age group. So they're young. They're young, so they have the main thing is not overtraining them, and that's sometimes. But I don't think that we really tap into that area. We have to still be careful about physical periodization, but I don't think we will exhaust them to get them to overtrained. And then of course we have to have some fun. Like kids have to have fun no matter what. So try to have a little laugh and a giggle every now and then. It's no bad. And like every now and then we would ask, hey, what's your favorite activity? What's the most fun you want to? What is something that you really want to do that you really like? So we would throw that in there every now and then. And then we'll always talk about level of stress and how we can stress the kids psychologically in terms of, is it some competition? Is it like a kind of game environment where kids will grow and as a goalkeepers as best as possible? So again, what is that level of stress that will add on is it conditions on the field? Is it U14 goalkeeper training with the U16 sometime? That's an added level of stress that we definitely think about whenever we think about designing a training sessions and how we implement goalkeepers in within. So again, going back to this, I said there is a differences between the U10 and U18 training, and there is a differences in those phases and how we see them. So this is kind of the chart that we use, and this is the 4 phases of development that we have throughout the club, starting on the bottom with the discovery phase, and those are our youngest goalkeepers, and I will talk through each of these phases. So starting with our youngest goalkeepers, kids who think they want to be a goalkeepers. These are the kids, they're not full-time goalkeepers yet. We strongly encourage them not to be a full-time goalkeepers. Usually they train once a week, and we do some clinics for them. Usually on the right side, you can see their training session is because we have them for a really short amount of time, and I'll explain that in a second. But if we do a small goalkeeper section, that goalkeeper section specific training is really technical based, but we do a lot of games, and we try to put them in the goal and play games and have them be involved with the team as much as possible, so they get a lot of tactical action as well. So they have to make a lot of small decisions. I'll talk about their psychosocial elements as well, and we are not that worried about, like, are they fast, are they strong? Is just for them is having them have fun as much as possible. So then we have our foundation phase, kids who want to be a goalkeepers. Those are our U12s, 13s, and 14s. You will notice some kind of overlapping. There's in the discovery phase, there's U12s, but on a foundational phase, there's U12s as well. And, we tend to, if kids are in their development stage, they're a little bit better. We tend to push them up, of course. So that's part of the process and part of the growth. So in this foundation phase, we usually have a goalkeeper specific training at least once or twice a week. We try to incorporate goalkeepers as much as we can. As far as training, again, technical and tactical elements are super important. Starting to understand psychosocial elements as well, and then again, physical periodization is important, but not really top priority. Again, development phase, those are like kind of a little bit older goalkeepers that have some experience. We do have a goalkeeper coach with them almost at all times, and then we encourage those kids to come to some additional work and some additional training, and that's when overlapping comes between the boys and the girls, if it happens, or in between the teams. Again, in this phase, we kind of started shifting a little bit more towards the tactical elements of the game and decision making. Our psychosocial kind of side goes up as well, and we try to challenge them in that area. And then physical periodization becomes important, and them starting to develop some speed and some starting to work on some agilities and stuff like that. So then elite phase, those are our oldest goalkeepers, and helping those goalkeepers to get to the next level. Those are our 18s, 19s, 17s. So those are goalkeepers that have the experience, they have the goalkeeper training almost at all the times when they're on the grass. So it's just they have a goalkeeper coach whenever they're on grass. And again, how do we train them is we do try to incorporate as much as tactical work as possible, a lot of psychosocial work, and how they carry themselves, and how they work among the team and with the team and stuff like that. And then physically, we try to also have some physical periodization for them. So I will quick kind of look through these and just talk a little bit more about each of those. So if we have a kid who is super young and an experienced goalkeeper with a very, very limited experience, those are super young kids that they think they want to be a goalkeepers. They think they wanna be part of the goalkeeping union. So something that we look at, for them is, are they brave? Are they excited to be there? Can we install some love of the game for them and try to talk them through those and try to just kind of get them excited for the game, right? Like try to get them excited to come every day. Technically, we're looking for them to be a natural shot stoppers. We do introduce some elements of the technical training, but we don't spend much time detailing it, right? We let them be who they are and let them express themselves. Try to have them play with the feet as much as possible and be part of the training, team training as much as possible. So introduce some elements of the hand distribution. So like some maybe rolling on the floor and some small throws, so they can connect that first and second line pass if possible. Tactically, we just kind of try to get them to find a ball, middle of the goal, just to try to help them find a ball line. I explained the ball line, middle of the goal, and a ball, and just kind of have them in some general area of some general positioning that will be good to shot stopping. Then trying to get him off the line as much as possible when ball is higher up the field, and then so they can control that space and behind the back line, right? Again, physically, if they can be brave, if they're athletically naturally gifted, that's great. If not, we'll try to see how they develop throughout the ages, and do they have some kind of hand-eye coordination for shot stopping. So again, our number one goal with those kids is just to introduce goalkeeping and help young goalkeepers fall in love with the position. We train them usually once a week. We have a program that's like a 6-week long in the fall, 6 week long in a winter, and then 6 weeks in the spring. It's a once a week. Those are like some small clinics that we do, in like a time of the goalkeeper specific training is very short. It's a 10 to 15 minutes, and in that 10 to 15 minutes we do a lot of technical work. Rest of that training is tactically based in terms of is it goalkeeper specific games, and is it field games, like with the field players? It just depends. Then we have our foundation phase. As I said, those are the kids who want to be goalkeepers. We do have some kids even in these age groups. So we have on a U14 team, so we have a girl who still plays on the field, and that's absolutely fine with us. We encourage that heavily. So she plays as a forward on a team, so we strongly encourage that. But at the same time, we have them. We kind of, if they're serious and they love being a goalkeepers, we let them be just the goalkeepers. That's fine with us. We spend some more time on a technical work. So again, naturally gifted shot stoppers. We talk a little bit about like balancing that set position and finding some comfortable, just like a body shape that they can get set. Talking a little bit about catching and diving shapes, right? Talking about some 1v1 technical abilities and trying to teach those a little bit more, especially for those younger goalkeepers who are kind of like their U12s and they're bumping it up. So we talk a little bit more to them about, because they see a lot of those 1v1 situations, they see a lot of those shots. So again, going into possession, connecting the first and second line pass, looking for some balls around, but as well balls through the lines. And looking into their distribution with the hands, right? Tactically, again, staying connected with the line, defending the space behind the back line for the through balls and those 1v1s, and then understand some basic principles of angle play. Again, just adjusting the angle of a ball is like moving into wide areas. Can we adjust the angle play for shot stopping? And then is it a little bit just the basic positioning when ball goes in the wider areas, right? Again, looking for those kids to be brave, excited, and passionate, love for the game, and then start understanding there is a failures in the goalkeeper position. There is goals being scored, like you will concede the goals, and you have to understand that, and you have to start overcoming those moments, and then slowly starting how to influence the others. And we have the specific program for the goalkeepers, where trying to develop them to be leaders and trying to develop their ability to influence the others. So again, physically, just some kids are not shy of contact, with some motor behavior, like we are looking for some small traits of like abilities to move. So just again, we are not looking just for big kids or for small kids. It's not just, we're looking for somebody that can move well and do well and do well with the movement. So we try to develop those motor behaviors. So again, helping goalkeepers understand position better and start investing in position. That's our number one priority in our development phase. So these are like some goalkeepers who have some experience, shifting the training into a little bit more tactical side of the training, and really talking about they see they see a lot of shots, right? And there is There is some small percentage of the wide play. So we are trying to get them to understand their basic positioning when ball is in the wide spaces, and especially when ball is on the set pieces. So there is a kids who are starting to, so in the 15, 16, 17 age groups, especially on the boys side, they're already developed. There's some developed players out there that can strike the balls from distances. So understanding those positioning when ball is in the wide area, and positioning in relation to the goal and to the ball at the same time as well. Quality decision making when possession, especially like in a tight areas around the goal, when we are trying to play out of the back and trying to keep up with the club's curriculum and club style of play, right? Consistency on a catching. We look for goalkeepers who can consistently catch the ball, trying to develop that side of the game. Playing on a half turn, again, ball is starting to come in from the wide area a little bit more at this time. So really trying to develop that half turn and playing on a half turn and moving out of the half turn. That's a big emphasis. Balance set, ability to step and push with the speed in the distance of the ball, because ball is moving with a little bit more pace. And quality of passing, especially, like I said, in the short range, and then ability to deliver longer range passes. Now, do we look for 100% consistency? No, but we are starting to kind of talk a little bit about switching the point of attack with some transitional balls, finding some balls into spaces, finding some balls onto somebody's head so they can flick it and move the ball forward. And then again, importance of psychosocial side of the game, and starting to handle adversities, highs and lows. Again, that love and passion for position, learning about themselves. That's something that we start incorporating in this development phase. So really try to start learning about themselves as an individual and who they are, not just as a goalkeeper, but as a person as well. And then physically as well, starting to understand their physical qualities, how fast they are, how fast they can move. If a goalkeeper is a little bit still, this kids, you can see the kids grow 3 to 4 or 5 inches a summer. So while they're still maybe smaller, how they move and with what quality. So starting to understand that and using that in their game, and then their development of speed and agility and quality of their movement overall. Number one priority for us is to start developing this person and a goalkeeper and start really detailing the craft. And then in our elite phase, our psychosocial side of the game goes in front. It's the most important thing for us, understanding to really handle adversities, abilities to analyze and understand their own needs. So abilities to, if our goalkeeper concedes the goal, understanding, not during the game, of course, but afterwards, trying to analyze and understand what happened in that situation, and so we don't have to tell them everything, so they can do some work on their own if they have been sent a video or a game or a training, whatever that is. So starting to really invest in their own development, right? Learning how to influence others. This is huge. And then investment in position in the sport overall. So what we would have do this elite goalkeepers, we will have them come in and work with our younger goalkeepers in those camps and clinics. So they would really start investing in a position and start developing themselves, not just as a players, but as a people as well. Technical and tactical side almost is kind of coming together, and that complex training, as I was talking about, that training is coming up front. That we still do a lot of technical work on the side, and especially with individual development plans. If there is an area of small technical need of the goalkeeper that needs to develop, but technical and tactical side of the game are coming really, really tight together, and they're almost done all the time, as much as possible, simultaneously, so together. really goalkeepers start understand for us like understanding their own range when comes when we are defending, when we are out of the possession, when ball is played through or played from the wide spaces, and proactive, so they proactively defend the space so they don't have to defend the goal. Can they proactively defend the area so they don't have to defend the goal? Can they catch the cross? Can they intercept the through ball? And then as well as using their own strengths to create advantage. So if I'm a really good shot stopping goalkeeper and I'm not that great in the air, do I drop in the line and defend on the line a little bit more, or do I get in the crowds and get pushed around? And so just kind of try to help them develop. We are certainly working on something that needs to be developed, but as well understanding what their strengths are and how they can use that. If I'm really good in possession, can I be incorporated in the team's possession as much as possible during the game, so I don't have to defend the area, defend the goal, or defend the space at all. So just kind of understanding those strengths, as well as start to understanding the approaches and body shape of the ball strikers. So like if I can position myself in a certain area of the goal in a certain moment, that will give me higher percentage of making a save. Why not? So if cutback is coming from one side and player is running onto it a certain angle or certain way, that just kind of understanding those body shapes and approaches of the forwards and the ball strikers. And then importance of like these kids now in that age can even kick the ball a little bit longer, and they can get a little bit longer distances on their kicks, side volleys, punts, whatever it is, drop kicks. So can we influence the game even on the other side, and can we counterattack out of throws or some side volleys, or even out of can we play the ball behind the opponent's back line? And then physically, we do spend some time in their injury prevention, right? Implementation of acceleration, deceleration work in a daily training, strength, speed, power development, just kind of that pre-training routine a little bit that we do, and can we just sprinkle it here and there. And then really important, ball is moving speed, development of their hand-eye coordination and hand speed, super important with alongside of building durability for what's to come down the road. And our number one goal is to prepare goalkeepers for the next step as best as possible. Is that we do have some boys that, we have the boy that signed up in Poland this last year. So like, is it maybe in a pro game, but majority, 95% of the goalkeepers would go to the college level, and how we can prepare them the best for that going forward. So again, those are the 4 phases of our development. They're strictly based around the how we see the goalkeeping, but they are based around some analysis that like I said, that we do throughout the ages and stages of their development. And we hope that that whenever goalkeeper is ready to move to the next level, they will be able to manage the game. They'll be able to have effective actions. They will be able to be leader on and off the field, and they will be able to be durable whenever they walk out of our training pitch, so they're ready for whatever is to come down the road. So again, this is how we see our program within the club, and there's my contact info. So yeah, that's it.
Top class, Rade. Very detailed.
Let me see. All right.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let's get cracking. That was excellent. Do you incorporate? Joe was asked, do you incorporate video review with your goalkeepers? If so, do you focus on technical execution, tactical understanding, decision making? What's the key focus of your video analysis?
We do. So every training is filmed. I try to film pretty much every training. Again, it will everything is shared with the goalkeepers. especially with our in our elite phase. So we share everything with them and try to get them to analyze themselves as much as possible and try to get back to us with the questions that they have. So that's our number one priority, for them to analyze it. We do some video with the younger goalkeepers, but not like, we do some video with, probably U14s to start with, but nothing younger than that. We really don't incorporate much of video with the younger goalkeepers. If we do camps or clinics or something like that, where we have a little bit of time where we will show them some basic shapes or some basic diving stuff, we will do it. But we will kind of let them figure it out on their own, who they are and what they need and how they need to develop. But older age groups, every practice is there for them. And then every game is there for them, and especially for the games, we do some reviews, usually at the beginning of each cycle. So every 3 weeks we sit down, have a conversation, and again, I would like for players to come in to me with questions, and I would like for them to come in with analysis of the game, so we can have open conversation.
Talk to me about Alyssa. Whenever you have what does that look like in a post game with Alyssa Nair? Like, what does her review look like?
It depends at that level. It's all what goalkeeper wants or needs. So whatever goalkeeper wants or needs. So review looks like, so this how, like, on, let's say game is on Saturday, I have the review done on Sunday. There is communication on Monday before the training on Tuesday. There is a little chat about the game. Hey, what do you think? This is what I think. Like, what did you think of this situation? What did you think of this situation? Sometimes comes from me, sometimes comes from her. Again, it's at that level, with that level of a goalkeeper, she does know a lot what she needs, and she does know who she is. And I think that helps the process. So if there is something really specific that I want us to talk about, I do bring that up. If there is something really specific that she wants to talk about, she brings that up. And there is a times and days where, hey, we don't need to look at any of this. All is good. Move on. Next game. This is what's going on. Or there is a times and days when we really kind of dive into certain situations or moments of the game or the goals or whatever that is. But it just depends pretty much week to week.
Yeah, I know you don't like to go into your presentations about Alyssa specifically, but
yeah,
I do think that it would be valuable to the coaches listening who haven't seen. So my question is, and seeing it up close, a player who is in mind of what she needs at a very, very high level, whose intensity is off the scale, and who's also arguably the best goalkeeper in the world. What do you think, if you had to guess, or maybe you've had this conversation with her, a 15-year-old Alyssa Nair, what was the focus of her youth development, do you think?
Yeah, it was like it was a really, really technically oriented. It was Ray, this is how you position your shoulder, and this is how you position your hands, and this is, like we all of us do that. There's no question about that. I do think, as far as technology and as far as video, I do think they had some reviews at the time, but really, really limited. It was more of a kind of like what coach said, so to say, like, in how coach felt. And that's something that I think it's really, at a high level, it's really, really with the goalkeeper that has understanding who they are and who has the understanding what they need. Why would I, as a coach, tell them what they need and try to influence? And almost, it's kind of like counteractive. It's two minuses. It's kind of getting away from each other, right? But I think with the youth goalkeepers, we gotta get to the place. It's almost like discovery questions, right? I think we gotta guide them to the certain extent where they can analyze themselves, analyze who they are, and analyze what they need to move forward. So I think it is a really interesting process. So even during this quarantine, I had one of our but our older age group goalkeepers do the presentations to everybody in the club, and that was really interesting to see how girls do it. It was really interesting to see how boys do it, and it was actually really interesting to see everybody did everybody. So we'll give a topic, we'll give a theme, everybody will go watch certain film situation, whatever it is. Everybody would analyze it for themselves, top to bottom, each kid in the club. Then we would have older age group goalkeepers in the girls' side and older age group goalkeepers in the boys' side. That we have two groups. They would get together and collaborate and talk among themselves and come up with the presentation and then present it to everybody. And it was a really, really cool to see how, and we've done it, I think throughout this period, we've done it 4 or 5 times. It was cool to see the difference between first time and the second time, and between the first time and the last time. And then it was really, really cool to see. I did individual development programs for them before everything, and we are doing individual development programs now. And to see how kids are learning throughout this period for themselves. Oh, but I saw this there, and I saw this there, and this goalkeeper has similar abilities to my abilities. So maybe I can take this piece and put it here, and and I think that process of them understanding who they are, how they can take it and steal something else is really, really important.
Very good, very good. Adam has asked, good question. What will be the hardest thing for goalkeepers once the lockdown is over?
I mean, I don't. For older goalkeepers, I think just getting back in the routine and like really adjusting to the pace of the game, pace of the ball. I think for the younger goalkeepers, to be honest, like I don't know, Gary. I'm like one of those guys that I think if kid played some basketball, they will be okay. If kid went out on the lawn and throw some frisbee with the mom and dad and rode a bicycle, I think they will be okay. I think they're kids. I think they will pick back up really fast. I think they will adjust really, really fast. I do think in the older age groups, with the talking about youth development, with the older age groups and with the older goalkeepers, I do think they will have a little bit feel, a little bit speed of the ball kind of problems, a little bit hand-eye coordination, a little bit adjustment on the speed of the game. I do think those will come for sure. But with the younger kids, there will be no problems.
Brilliant. See a couple about development. I want to go back to, Nick. So again, talked about video analysis. Well, on the other end of the spectrum, high school level, there's no video analysis, nor is there for, in Nick's situation, a goalkeeper coach or even an assistant coach. 18 field players, 2 goalkeepers. What techniques and tactics would you almost prioritize?
I would say, hey, listen, just worry about them keeping the ball back of the net. Don't worry about techniques or I think the priority is like who can keep the ball out of the back of the net. I think that always been and always is going to be. I think involving a goalkeeper in a team training and figure it out, how can you can a goalkeeper be on, like if we're playing some possession game, right? Can a goalkeeper be on the outside of the possession and play 180 degrees and be kind of neutral player or be a connector, right? If you're playing a 4-goal game, can goalkeeper be a target to get the ball and bounce it back into the play through some lines or around some players? So again, what is it there that goalkeepers can be involved in outside? Like goalkeepers don't play really 360, so less they can play like in the middle of the field. But at the same time, is it that going to hurt them? No, it's not. It's just going to help their comfort. They're going to help their ability to pass. I don't think we need to be such a goalkeeper specialist to train the goalkeepers. I do think we need to kind of design a training session that involves the goalkeepers and puts the goalkeeper in a specific position. So is it position on the field? Is it position to have to make a certain decisions and so on and so forth?
Great point. You mentioned, Denny has asked, you mentioned a 2-week cycle of progressive sessions. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like? Setup example.
Yeah, so here is again, I can just kind of go back to this and just kind of show it really fast again.
Yeah.
So like, and I'm willing to share this, so it's not a problem. So this is wide open for everybody. So here, like you can see that, so 2 week cycle with Monday, the March the 9th, start with some handling and shot stopping. Start with some with some technical work, progresses to a little bit more functional work where we put a goalkeepers in a goal, and then angle play goes into more complex environment where is it team games, is it where goalkeepers have to make a decision in a run of play where ball is moving and it's not just a shot in a goalkeeper training, right? So they have to be part of the game. And then the March 16th, we will kind of progress a little bit more into some, still it's a shot stopping, but it's a little bit more specific into 1v1 situations and kind of run the week the same way. Maybe starts off a little bit more technical and goes a little bit more functional. And then at the end of the week, I will try to incorporate as much as possible. Like if coaches are doing some kind of 1v1s or 2v2s, I will try to kind of build my session around that a little bit. So goalkeepers get exposed with a lot of short range shot stopping, reaction saves, blocking with the feet. And so if coaches are working on and at the end of the week, they're working on some crossing. And I mean, Gary, you remember when we were together, like you guys will do some crossing and stuff. And I will ask, hey, can you move the crossing from this day to this day so we can do some crossing session and kind of expose the goalkeepers into a little bit more complex environment. There's no better thing than putting goalkeepers against the players. Like I can do just so much justice striking the ball, but like I think what they see in the game, that's what they need to see in training.
Brilliant. You mentioned there before about the goalkeepers kicking getting longer. Like,
yeah.
do you think again it's unorthodox? It probably is a little bit regressive in terms of where we're at as training, but I mean, is there room for a goalkeeper to go out with a player and just kick balls for 20
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. I mean, a lot of we talk about, and this is a whole another topic, but we talk about distribution a lot, right? We talk how goalkeepers play 80% with their feet. We talk about they play like in NWSL, they play with the feet about 70 to 80% each of the goalkeepers. But my question is, in analysis, how many of those playing, like how many of that distribution is actually a dead ball when you don't have to make any decision, when you don't have to make much of a choice other than, hey, I got to put a ball in a certain spot, so I'm not rushed. Whenever you put down go ball for a goal kick, yes, there is some kind of timing involved, but you have a time to take a deep breath, compose yourself, and want to find a 7 or 11, right? But to find a 7 and 11, you got to be technically proficient. How you get a technically proficient, you got to hit certain amount of balls to get technically proficient. So I do really believe there is something huge. Like, let's talk about weak foot striking the ball. Like, if I pass you the ball, Gary, and I tackle you right away, I pass it to your left foot, it's really difficult for you to trap and pass right away. So you got to start with some simple stuff. Now, the problem is a lot of players and a lot of goalkeepers think that all needs to be done inside the training. A lot of that work can actually be done outside of training, and we talk a lot of times like you need a mom or a dad to catch a ball down there, and you need a friend to catch a ball down there that you can go and strike the ball so you can get that technique and get that strike down to the tee.
100%. And what a goalkeeper, I'm only guessing, go individual session with a goalkeeper probably costs you $75 to $100 these days.
100%.
What does a bag of balls cost you? Probably the same price. Buy the bag of balls and then go.
Yeah.
One thing I always also wanted to ask you, related to the kicking, what was it? It's just escaped me again. Never mind. Oh yes, college. So put your college hat back on. You're recruiting for School X. You're in the ACC. You're in a top 50 program. You go watch a goalkeeper. She's pulling saves out left, right, and centre. Comes to take a goal kick. Defender runs up, takes the goal kick for her. Is she off your list?
No, she's not.
She has to be.
No, she's not. Depends. I mean, depends on what school I am at. Depends what I need. Depends what I see. And you always jumped on my back about this. Like, I see good in the players. I see the development. I think they can develop certain things. Now there is shot stopping. There is crosses. There's shot stopping. There's wide play. There is distribution. There is all these aspects of the game. Let's say you're not really good in distribution, right? Like, let's take that away. So you better be like dynamite in these aspects of the game.
Okay.
Do you understand? Like, that's how I see it. That's how like now at the professional level, it's really difficult. Like, it's hard to play at the Real Madrid if you cannot kick the ball with the ball feet really, really well, right?
Yeah.
It's really, really difficult. It's hard to play in the Real Madrid if you're no good shot stopper, if you cannot catch crosses. It's really difficult. But in a college game, like, I think there's a lot of places where, like, if you have a good shot stopper, that kid can win you games. If you have somebody that can catch crosses, especially in a female's game, like, I think that's in a guy's game, if you have somebody who's super athletic and, and again, does it fit your style of play as a coach, as like, for my boss, right? Like, if I go recruit the goalkeeper, I cannot kick the goal kick, but my boss wants to play out of the back. It's a really, really difficult. But if we are a super direct team that wants to get the ball in the opponent's half and be aggressive and attack forward, then like, I need somebody who can do work in the net.
Okay, brilliant.
But I see the development.
All right, last two. Gump is asked in the periodization cycle, week 3 onwards, only 2 days program. What about the rest of the days? What is the scale?
That's a great question. I'm sorry, maybe I failed to mention, like, our really, really heavily, again, I said at the beginning, really flexible. So always heavy planning the first 2 days. They're always really, really, really tight to the periodization in terms of, like, this technical and functional work and what do we do. The next 2 days are kind of a little bit more open, and they're done week to week basis. At least once of those 2 days, we would try to have a goalkeeper. So, like, try to have a goalkeeper involved in a training session as much as possible. Is it on a coach's request, or is it my request? Sometimes coach says, hey, listen, I really need I need a goalkeeper we need to work on playing out of the back and building out of the goal kick. So I really need a goalkeeper. That happens at least once a week. So we try to get a goalkeeper in there as much as possible within the team. And then the other day is planned off of what we see on a previous day. So it's not a really rigid structure. It's really flexible. So I don't believe in this really rigid structures. I think it needs to be a little bit flexible where, hey, I have one kid today and I have only one goalkeeper and it's just me. So today I'm just going to work on their individual development plan. Let's take a tactical periodization aside just a little bit and work on what they need. So it is really structured, but at the same time, it is a flexible, so we can, it's not rigid, there is always room for changes.
Brilliant. Okay, last one. Paul, guys, excellent presentation. Rade. Only word I missed was reflex. How do you enhance reflexes? Great question.
Hand-eye coordination, huge. I think if goalkeepers are like, this is a huge part of the development. I think that we don't spend enough time on. I think if goalkeepers are balanced, and if they, like, yes, it is a reaction, but it's controlled reaction. How many times you just see goalkeepers just throw themselves out left and right at the high level game? I think and that's something that really I learned by being around some of the best in the world. Like, at a high level game, you don't just react. You react. You're balanced. You're calm. Your eyes are fixated on a ball. Your eyes are fixated on a foot of the striker. When that ball leaves, than reacting to it. How does Formula One guy? I cannot drive Formula. I cannot react that fast with that speed, but they can. Why? Because they're trained and they know what they're doing in every moment. If like they do understand those speeds, they train at the speeds. But I really do believe that in their mind, they're really, really calm people. I really believe that, the person walking, you see there's a wire between the two buildings, and you see the person walking across the wire. That guy's crazy, by the way, but that person cannot be like really just kind of like going all over the place in their mind. They're really calm. They're really relaxed. Their breathing is right. They're really balanced. And then if that pole moves a little bit left or a little bit right, they adjust and they keep on going. I believe the same in the goalkeeping. Balanced, fixed eyes on the ball, calm in the mind, I think can make more saves.
Brilliant. Top class, Rade. Really enjoyed that. Thank you. A few people have asked about the slides. You'd be all right sending that over?
Yeah, I'll be fine. Just, I'll just use them however you want, change them up, you add them to your sessions, whatever. There's my contact info there. So I owe some people from the last time. I owe a couple small videos. I found them, so I'll get it to them. So no problem.
Let me hold on a second. Let me stick up. You all right with them emailing you, or do you want them to get you on social media?
Yeah, email, social media, whatever works. It's fine with me. Yeah, no problem. Whatever works, absolutely.
All right, brilliant, Rade. We'll hopefully get you on again for the hat trick. Another topic.
Oh. Thank you, buddy.
Class. Hey, we'll talk soon. Cheers, Rade. Top class. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.